welcome to this episode of How to Start, Grow and Monetise Your Podcast with me, James Burtt, and him, the popreneur, Alex Chisnall. Today we're talking about, should you be doing a podcast or should you be doing YouTube? Dun, dun, dun. The timeless debate. Which one's better, podcasting or YouTube? Well, first and foremost, guys, they can both work. It depends on the outcome that you're chasing. And also, they can both be both things. Sounds a bit weird. Where does a podcast become a YouTube? Where does YouTube become a podcast? The lines have got
episode.
It should be. We save that for the next one. But the lines have got very much blurred, haven't they? And I know a lot of the podcast purists are like, no, a podcast is a downloadable MP3 that's available on demand from an on-demand platform in audio format. No, it's not. Not anymore. That's what it used to be.
Not anymore.
It's not anymore. You will see a lot of big podcasts now which have got YouTube channels and they do them as proper shows. You will also see a number of YouTube channels which are then repurpose the content and turn that into podcasting. It depends really on which way you're looking at it. But
what is a YouTube channel? What is a podcast? What is a show?
Exactly. Who knows? But you had a great example of a client who came to you and then spun it into a podcast.
Yeah, literally came to me. I think it was literally the second or third client I had back in 2019. And Jonathan came to me, still going now. So that is 6 years later, 500 episodes. Somebody who embraces guests and solo episodes. And he came to me with a YouTube channel that was doing nothing and wanted to turn it into a podcast. So that's exactly what we did. We literally took the YouTube, the back catalogue that he had, and literally took the audio from those videos and turned them into podcasts.
Yeah,
and
nice.
then, he really got into the process, really enjoyed it. It was doing fantastic things for him. He's a coach. He coaches blue chip CEOs from, multi-million, billion-dollar companies. So he was getting people on in the leadership space and interviewing them. And that was a fantastic tool to get referrals for other clients, incredibly successful in his space. And he started, increasing the length of his podcast, doing more podcasts, etc. And absolutely loves it to this day. Again, best thing that's ever happened to him.
I think that one of the fears that a lot of people have, especially if they've already got a podcast and they haven't yet done it on video and they're thinking about making that transition to doing it on video as well, is they think that it's going to cannibalise the audience. And I know this, so I co-host a show called Business Broadcast with a guy called James Sinclair, who runs a bunch of businesses. And he'd only ever done the podcast on audio format. So when I came on board, which was not January this year, January before, I was like, why are we not recording this on video? Like, he's got a video guy who's very talented, a guy called Chuds. I was like, we should be recording these on video. And the conversation that we had was, well, we could, and we probably should, but there is a risk that we're going to lose the audience because you're going to split the audience and then you're going to split the download numbers. I was like, yeah, maybe, but also maybe not. Let's just do it. Who really cares? Because it wasn't Jimbo's main business. It wasn't my main business. And we're like, if we could extend the reach of it, help more people, that's the outcome for it. That podcast has gone from, it was doing about 25 to 30,000 downloads a month. So it's doing good numbers.
It's good numbers, yeah.
It now does between 40 and 50,000 downloads on audio. It also gets between 40 and 50,000 long form views on YouTube as well. So now the combined reach is now 100,000.
And that podcast is a top 3 business podcast, if I'm not correct.
It's the number 4 entrepreneurship podcast in the country.
Entrepreneurship. But it's always in the top 10, right?
It's always in the top 10,
So that shows you what kind of numbers, which again may seem totally out of reach. But again, we've given my example in the previous episode that my podcast was like 60,000 just for audio. And then again, I only 6 years later decided to go down the video route and embrace YouTube. And I think what's super interesting, and you'll be able to add something to this with that podcast as well, is that when I look at about splitting an audience and that, when I looked at the audience, my YouTube audience is completely and utterly different than the audience.
Yes.
My audio is literally 50-50 male or female. It's like 18 to 34 years old. When you look at YouTube, and I tell you no lie, it's like 98% male, age like 14 to 28.
Really?
Bonkers.
Wow.
Bonkers.
Yes, that's a really good point. You are actually going to reach a different audience and a different demographic entirely for the same content.
It's a search engine, so
100%.
Does its thing, doesn't it? The algorithm does its thing, whereas audio just doesn't have that algorithmic magic sauce.
It doesn't yet. Spotify's definitely making inroads to doing it though, with video and with their discovery tools, because that's and also with the podcast I do with Jimbo, Business Broadcast. That one now is just for the first time ever. It's more popular on Spotify than it is on Apple.
Is it?
But we have an older demographic, so you would think like Apple tends to skew slightly older.
Yes.
So it's always, I think it was always like, it was 70, 80-20, 70-30, 60-40. It's gone, crossed over within the last year very quickly, which goes to show, and there's a lot of discovery happening from Spotify.
Yeah. Agreed.
One thing I would say is if you are going to start to utilize video, whichever way around you're repurposing, just make sure that it fits the format of the platform that you're going to be on. So for example, I know short, sharp episodes of podcasts can work really well. Shorter videos on YouTube don't really work that well. Yes, there's the shorts functionality for sub 90 seconds, I think it is. But anything less than anything between like 3 and 7 minutes tends not to do so well on YouTube. It's generally the longer format that will work. And equally, the other thing that I've seen is that people will do, that you can repurpose like a live stream or a keynote talk or whatever and turn that into video or podcast. But again, if you're referencing individual people, we used to have a client who did loads of live streams. And he's like, oh, can we repurpose it? It's like, we can, but you keep talking to individual people on the live stream. Right. Which makes it a bad listener experience. So that one in that instance there, yes, it's a piece of video, but it doesn't work for YouTube or for podcasting unless you do it in a different way. So if you are going to start to utilize both platforms, which I think is powerful, just do it in a way that works for both of those platforms. And make sure if you are using those platforms that you're using all of the stuff we've talked about in previous episodes, like the individual episode artwork, if you're on the podcast platforms, like the thumbnails, like beta testing the 3 thumbnails that you could do on YouTube.
Keywords in the title, the description.
In the title, the tags, the description. Make sure that the title and the thumbnail wording on the graphic is different. Make sure you're utilising shorts. If you are using shorts, make sure you're linking them through to the actual video itself, which you can now do, even with scheduled posts, which has made it so much easier to do and utilise. But both of those platforms can and will work. Just wanted to take a quick minute to say a big thank you for watching this podcast. If you are thinking about starting your own podcast to grow your brand or your business, then we would love to help you out. Yourpodcastcourse.com is a place where you can find 55 on-demand videos. There's trainings, there's blueprints, there's guides, there's cheat sheets, there's downloads. Everything that you need to utilize and to start your own powerful podcast is in there right now.
It's guaranteed for 7 days. So if you don't like it, we'll return your money, and we're going to start you off with a fantastic offer.
Absolutely. Just because you are consuming this podcast for a limited time only, for the first 25 people only this is going to be, we're going to give you 50% off yourpodcastcourse.com. Click the link that's in the show notes. There's information there, and it will be 50% off joining the course. As I say, we will walk you through how to start, how to grow, how to monetize your podcast. We'll talk to you about artwork, setup, names, ideal listener profiles, how to get the ideal guest, how you do the interviews, how you do the 14-day launch process, everything you need to utilize and to know to create a powerful podcast. We will tell you. We've done it 400 plus times. We have done some of the most successful podcast launches in Europe at this point in time, and the exact strategy and process that we charge tens of thousands of pounds to our agency clients for, you can get access to through yourpodcastcourse.com. 50% off for a limited time only. Click the link in the show notes now. Cheers!
And there's no right or wrong answer here. You can go one way or the other, or both.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Like I said, it took me a very long time, and I always quote this example in previous episodes just because you like him so much as well. But my pal Lewis Howes, when we were chatting, he said...
We've been chatting. Me and Lewis were chatting.
He took something like 7 years audio only, and when he decided to go to YouTube, it's another element we haven't talked about, he clicked the monetization button off. He left it off, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and then at the end of 12 months, he switched it on, okay, and in one day from the ads, he made $25,000. And he then, stupidly, in my opinion, went and calculated roughly how much money he'd left on the table for the previous 12 months. He said it was over $1 million that he left on the table. And the reason that he never switched monetization on was because he said that he didn't want any snake oil salesman, in his very words, from Lewis's House lips. Tongue said that, okay? He said that.
Lewis House's lips.
He didn't want any Tom, Dick or Harry putting his ad in front of Lewis's content.
Which I think it's got merit.
I think it's got merit. I think it's got merit because that can happen, for those of you who don't know how it works, anybody's ad can literally, the highest bidder, get stuck in front of your videos. And it could be, I don't know, somebody talking about pillows and you're trying to make a podcast about Special Forces SAS.
Yeah.
Badly matched by YouTube, in my opinion, but hey. So, look, there's a number of different ways to look at it. For me, I just think if you record, like with Jim, if you're recording the audio, why not video it at the same time?
Yeah.
If nothing else, it gives you the content to put on social media, which is invariably visual in this day and age.
Absolutely. So podcast platforms or YouTube, I think realistically in 2025, you've got to be doing both. If you'd like more information about the subjects we dive into on this very podcast, you can. You can do exactly that. You can go to Your Podcast Course. And there is 55 on-demand videos on the exact strategy, the A to Z roadmap of how to launch, grow, and monetize a podcast. We'll talk about production, editing, artwork, intros, outros, how to use a voiceover, how to get guests, everything that you need to launch a successful podcast, which we've done 400 times for clients around the world. You can learn it in there. It's 50% off right now as well. If you click the link in the show notes, the first 25 people get 50% off. So actually, sorry, if you watch this episode in about a year's time, it's not 50% off. Sorry, I take it back. DM me and maybe I'll do you a deal. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Or maybe I won't. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But you can click the link in the show notes now. Your podcast course. You're always ready with it, aren't you? I can never just slip a quick one past you, can I? Because your podcast course. Oh, he's still there. Click the link in the show notes. We'll see you on the next episode. Ta-da.